We're back, and as ever, we are just alternating our videos between McLaren interest and Ferrari interest. And I do wonder how much we are going to disagree, agree, hug, handshake,
Kill.
chest bump, whatever, to this particular topic. Um, but before we get into it, let's just outline what has happened over the last couple of days when it comes to Scuderia Ferrari. So, Capital Markets Day. Did you like that?
I love that.
Did
That's
you?
amazing.
Okay, okay,
By the
okay.
way, people told me not to interrupt, so I'm gonna keep quiet.
Ditto. Apparently, I'm talking over you,
I
but
am too. We're
uh,
aligned on that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you are making some good points, so I'm gonna let you make them. But before you start making the points, um, Thursday, Capital Markets Day, Ferrari, specifically Benedetto Vigne and John Elkann were both speaking, um, uh, and this is a day in which Ferrari outline their plans for the future, both from a commercial automotive side, but also from a sporting side as well. Like, what is it that they actually want to get out of the next few years? Um, I am sort of conscious of the fact that we haven't really outlined or defined who these guys are. So I did want to quickly do that. So John Elkann is chairman of Ferrari, right? And Benedetto Vigne is the CEO of Ferrari, the chief executive officer.
And what all falls under their portfolio, Shez?
So they are in charge of running both the automotive side of Ferrari and the sporting side of it, not just Formula One, but also the World Endurance Championship, all of the GT3 and GT4 classes that they're involved in as well. Um, so they're in charge of the whole pot. So what they say ultimately goes, but they are also beholden to a heap of shareholders, which is the reason that they were having this conversation. And it's ironic that on Capital Markets Day, the share price of Ferrari dropped massively. Now, whether or not that's actually down to the Formula One team's performance, I think is a moot point. It's probably more down to the fact that Ferrari are spending a huge amount of cash on electrification, which, if you're any kind of car nut, is a complete anathema. Like, why? How can the world's greatest sporting car manufacturer do electric cars? Oof, my blood.
You're not allowed to be surprised because it is Ferrari. So
Oh.
I don't even understand what you mean by
Well,
that,
it's
to
not
be
just
honest.
them, is it? But anyway, that's an aside. But
Yeah,
on
I know.
Capital Markets Day, this is what Benedetto Vigna said. He said, we have to win. He said that in WEC, we're doing really well, right? We've had three consecutive Le Mans 24-hour wins. Amazing. But in Formula One, we need to improve. We need to win. We owe it to our fans. We owe it to ourselves. So following on from that, a couple of days later, we hear Ralph Back, who's a journalist with Formula One Insider. I don't know how. I mean, he may be well connected, but the quote that he gave in an article in Formula One F1Insider.com didn't directly quote anyone. It was conjecture by the sounds of things, but informed conjecture. And what he said was that patience had sort of run out for Fred Vasseur. They didn't actually want him, and actually, what Elkann really wants is to get in Christian Horner. Yeah. So, I think this brings up three questions. Okay, I love breaking these things down,
Only.
but we're going to try and answer three separate questions here, and see if we can reach some sort of consensus at the end of it about how we feel about Christian Horner potentially being team principal at Ferrari. So the first question is it a good thing for Ferrari? Second question, is it a good thing for Christian Horner? And third, is it something they need to do, or is there an alternative strategy that still involves Fred Vasseur? So let's start with that first question first of all. Would Christian Horner be good for Ferrari? Go.
Christian Horner could be good for Ferrari. There's no doubt about that. When someone has had the level and the depth of success that Christian Horner's had in his 20 years at Red Bull, I mean, all the stats, the accolades speak for themselves. 8 championships, 4 of them back to back to back, I guess consecutive, right? Um, Being able to build a massive team that is as recognizable on track as it is off track, for the fact that it's a sort of an energy drinks manufacturer, sort of a marketing juggernaut in that regard. And I haven't done enough work to sort of correlate the success of Red Bull with the sale of their beverages, but I imagine there's some positive correlation there over the 20 years, and I don't think it would be outlandish to think that at minimum, from a Red Bull perspective, their racing car is, elevated and extended their brand and their reach. Um, and then you add in the fact that they've had two, top 10 drivers of all time. I don't know, depending on where we want to put Sebastian in there. I'm guessing Max would be in the top 5 one way or another, but let's just say it's top 10, right? These are there's some massive accomplishments there. So on paper, if somebody can bring that to you, I could see that working. The big caveat is not the guy coming in; it's the people that are already there. And I know we'll get into that, but I would say Christian Horner brings about as much of a resume as perhaps Toto Wolff does, at least in the cast of characters that are around Formula One these days. And I could see him being successful.
I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know. And I want to separate Christian Horner bringing performance to Christian Horner as a disruptive entity, right? Because a lot of people are going to say, look, it's not good to have Christian Horner in the way he left Red Bull, the stuff that he did at Red Bull, the stuff that he was accused of, blah 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 blah. All of that is correct. All of it is at least partly relevant, but we are talking purely about whether or not having Christian Horner at Ferrari improves Ferrari's performance, right? And that again comes back to what we talked about before about operations, strategy, and technical. Can he bring all those things together? For me, Christian Horner isn't an engineering person in the same way that Toto Wolff is not an engineering person. These are team principles in the old sense, right? In that they like to have control and power over everything. And if you're going to get the best out of Christian Horner, which if you're going to employ him, it can't just be because you just want a name. And we're answering very specifically the question: can Christian Horner improve Ferrari? I think if he comes in and is able to do what he wants to do, then yes, it's possible that he can bring Ferrari up. But you have to look at the way that he did that in his successful years at Ferrari, at Red Bull. And it was literally within a year that he hired Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey is still a bit of a unicorn, I think, when it comes to Formula One. There isn't there aren't a lot of there aren't other engineering minds like him around in the paddock that have his breadth of experience and breadth of knowledge. So he wouldn't be able to just buy somebody in like Adrian Newey, and Ferrari have already let Newey slip through their fingers. I think this would be a different conversation if you had Newey on board. I think actually bringing Christian Horner on board limits your ability to bring in somebody like Adrian Newey because they've already had bad blood. So from a technical point of view, he would have to either make do with what he has or try to lure people with a proven track record from other teams, and how willing they would be to do that, I don't know. Then from a sort of operations and strategy point of view, again, he would have to have his fingers in all those pies. And operations, at least part of that comes down to drivers, right? So he would have on his books, if he were to come to Ferrari, probably Charles Leclerc and probably Lewis Hamilton. So how does he make that work? Because number one, we know that he's not had a brilliant relationship with Lewis Hamilton, but even if you take that out of it, what we talked about in our last couple of videos was that the Red Bull mold has always been to have a number one and a number two driver. Now, how does that work when you've got two alphas like Lewis and Charles both expecting a world championship? Are you going to be able to mold your team around one of them? Probably Charles, because you'd expect him to be the future of the team. Is he going to be able to do that without annoying the other driver or dropping off their performance or bringing a whole heap of nonsense onto the team because of that? I don't know. So those little things caused, I think, could be problems. One final thing is that the other big name in Formula One right now, from a driver point of view, is Max Verstappen. I can't see Max coming to Ferrari if Christian Horner's there, and if that is something that, if he is somebody that they want to lure in at some point, it's going to be more difficult, I think, for them to do that entire Verstappen camp if Horner's there. So yes, I think he can improve Ferrari, but there's a lot of murkiness that makes it difficult because of his reputation in Formula One as a whole. There you go.
Shez, look, the reputational stuff. Look, Flavio Briatore is back, right? That's not. To me, if you are deciding to bring Christian Horner back to Ferrari, or for that matter, any other team, you're hitting a proverbial reset, right? So everything that you've talked about, whether it's building the right structure together, this would be all starting afresh. I could see a situation where you're essentially sort of cleaning house for the first year or two, and then restarting things there. I think one of the underrated things, and I'm seeing from the comments, is that, look, the drivers brought championships, but and you mentioned Adrian Newey, right? It does take a bit of an orchestrator to put all of these pieces together, and I don't think we can discount that aspect of Christian Horner. Like, he knows how to build a successful team, Shez, and they've done that. Whether you want to give credit to Newey for building amazing cars and sort of reading at least this rule set better than anyone, sure, fair enough. But that's not everything on its own. And we'll see how Adrian does at Aston Martin. And if he sort of proves that he can do the same thing there, then cool. But the reality is it does take a catalyst, a leader at the top. And I think what Ferrari are indicating, at least John Elkann, and these sort of rumors or reading between the lines, is you want a team leader that evidently Fred Vasseur is unable to do, in his opinion, which I completely disagree with. We'll come to it in a little bit. But if that, in fact, is the prevailing theory, then you would want someone like a Christian Horner who has been able to build everything, have his fingers in everything. And that is probably the arrangement, by the way, that he would come under. He would be coming under this sort of exclusive arrangement, which is John, Benedetto, GTFOH.
Would he
I'm
though?
handling
Would
this
he
stuff.
though?
But that would be the circumstances, Shez. And we'll talk about whether it's good for Christian Horner or not. But that's the thing. And so if you want to get Horner, you know that this is going to be the condition. Not unlike when you were trying to get Adrian Newey, and his condition was to have a piece of the ownership or whatever else.
And he said no. Ferrari said no, and he said, I'm going somewhere else. And that.
But evidently. But Shez, if John has an interest in Christian Horner, then he's got to be willing to do those things. So in my mind, he's already down that path. If in fact these rumors are true, which I personally don't believe, but
okay. So I think it's far more interesting to talk about how this is good for Christian Horner, whether or not it is good for Christian Horner, because I think that actually is the more pertinent question. Because for me, and we're gonna broach this, I think, in the third part of this question. The third question in this is that it doesn't really matter who you have in the team as your team leader if they're not allowed to do the things that they need to do to push the team forward. It doesn't matter. You could literally have Jesus himself in that team principal role, and he probably wouldn't be able to do the things that he needs to do.
No, definitely wouldn't be able
because the top end would still get in the way. But we are going to come to that. Not Jesus. That's not what I'm talking about. But
they're going to drive Jesus out of the team too. I guarantee that. That's also going to happen.
And make him look bad doing it. It'd be awful.
Just go back to being.
I don't think he'd say bleep anything. But
it's not literate, man. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Skating on thin ice as it is. But
As
okay,
it is, yeah.
is it good for Christian Horner? It depends, I think, on what it is Christian Horner expects when he comes into the team. I'm gonna give this one to you first, right? So you tell me, do you think that Christian Horner coming to Ferrari as TP is good for Christian Horner? Go.
I don't think it's good, right? Because I think what Christian Horner is looking for, and evidently he's called up each and every team, is he wants a piece of the ownership. He wants a stake, and I don't know whether the stake is 10%, 15%, or maybe even a more significant chunk, like one that allows him to have like sort of final veto rights and stuff like that, right? But it sounds to me like he wants to kind of have his own team. I mean, there was a rumor floating about Horner Racing too, as coming up. So that's the kind of stuff that he's looking at. So I can't imagine a worse situation for Christian Horner than Ferrari. Perhaps it would be Mercedes, where his arch rival is sort of there right now, right? Where he is definitely not going to get any kind of ownership stake that is meaningful. He could maybe get a percent or two here or there, like an advisory share kind of thing. Sure, there's probably some financial machinations in there that could satisfy him. But from a pure sort of racing perspective, where he wants to kind of do his thing, and I have to imagine that somebody that's built a successful entity for the last 20 years knows a thing or two about F1 and knows how to build a successful team. So I would imagine that he would want to kind of do it his own way. I cannot think of a worse setup for him to go to than Ferrari in that regard. They are not going to let
Yeah,
him do his
yeah,
thing, no matter what.
but this is it though, right? Every person that comes into that role wants to be able to do things the way they want to do them, right? You come into Ferrari going, they've got all this resource, all this infrastructure, all this money, and they've got all of Italy behind you as well. Yeah, they do. And you think, I'm going to be the person that turns this all around, and they all they face the same thing every single time, and that's where I think Christian Horner's gonna falter a little bit. Look, I think Christian Horner as a team principal, when it comes to the battle, is unbelievable. Right? He will say all the right things. He will back the team. He will back the driver. To the point of being ridiculous sometimes. Turning up to press conferences with telemetry and stuff like that. But he is not going to do that if you are not backing him in the first place. And that, I think, is where it's not good for Christian Horner. Because, look, like you said, they will probably give him millions, billions maybe. They'll give him a huge amount of cash to come to Ferrari. That's the financial side of it. But you're right, what he wants is a stake in the team, the same way as his mate Toto Wolff does over at Mercedes. That's what he covets, right? He covets that rivalry. How comes he's got 8 championships over there and I've only got, how many's he got? 6.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, that's Toto. You're talking about Toto. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'm talking about Christian,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So he's out there going, no, I've got unfinished business here, and my chief rival is Toto Wolff. He's got a stake, a third of the team. Mercedes-Benz, he's got a third of that team. I want some of that as well. He's not going to get that at Ferrari. And on top of that, he's gonna turn around and find that every time he makes a decision, it has to go through the board. And every time there's a slight downturn in performance, every time one of their drivers has an oversteer moment and ends up dropping out of Q2, it's going to be like, Christian Horner, what did you do? This is your fault. You are the one that is in charge of everything. You're out. And the sword of Damocles is constantly going to be hanging over his head. So yes, I think he will get remunerated massively, but he won't get the stake in the team that he wants, and also what that represents. Because what a stake in the team represents is that you have a say. You have a say at a board level, right? They can't just push you around and say the results aren't going exactly how we wanted them to. You have to either do better or do things our way or go. He can turn around and say, no, I've got a stake here. I have responsibility for my team, and I can also do the things that I need to do. He's not going to get that at Ferrari.
I think the other thing is he would also know a lot of what we're talking about, perhaps a lot more than we
Oh
know
yeah,
about how the
100%.
way Ferrari works, because this is it's a small community, right? And everyone knows everyone's dirty laundry, and so he probably knows. I mean, there's also on a very fundamental level, there's also a cultural disconnect in the way Ferrari works compared to other teams. And unfortunately, I don't know if somebody who works in the British way or that culture, that way of communicating, that sort of um, just way of operating on a day-to-day basis would gel well with the Ferrari culture, which we've known to be so unique. I mean,
Ah,
just
can,
I was
can we
just
can we
reading
talk
this.
about that
Yeah,
uniqueness?
or just let me finish
Yeah,
this. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Go on.
wasn't
Sorry.
there was
Sorry.
in the aftermath of Singapore, there was an ex-Ferrari mechanic that was talking about what the issues are with the car, and I think he said something to the effect. I'm paraphrasing here, that it just seems like it's a communication problem, and I just think that there is, and again, I'm not an expert on Italian work culture or corporate culture or just that, but as an American working in American organizations and the way we emphasize communication, which can be blunt, it can be brutal at times, it doesn't seem to me that within the team, there's this element of, hey, I can be brutally honest, I can be blunt with you without having to hurt your feeling. Now, communication works both ways, right? It takes the person speaking the language and the other one receiving it. And I just think that that culture is very difficult to change. I mean, one of the reasons we're going to talk about Fred Vasseur struggles, but one of the reasons that he is struggling is just exactly that: is their inability to absorb language in quite the same way. So I'll let you sort of you have more there, but
Well, no, no, no.
the disconnect there. Yeah.
I mean, for once, we're in full agreement here because,
Oh,
uh, in that look, one of the things that Elkann said was that Ferrari is made up of three things: tradition, passion, and technology. I don't know whether technology comes into it because there doesn't seem to be a lot of that currently in the Formula One car. But that tradition is a problem, and that's going to clash with people that come in. There seems to be an expectation that we want you to perform absolutely at your best, but we want you to perform in the Ferrari
our
way.
way, our time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
traditions that we have held over the course of billions of years, and the only time that has been broken has been when the team principal has been able, either in a friendly way or in a confrontational way, has been able to separate themselves in the team from the management. It's important to know how important that actually is. So Ross Brawn, if you read his book Total Competition, you absolutely should read that book. It is unbelievably good. But he talks about walking into Ferrari, and he said that in all of the coffee rooms, they had a pile of newspaper cuttings curated and stapled together every morning, put out for the team to read, and it was in all the coffee rooms, and it's stuff that people were then talking about as they were going about their job as well. And he said that one of the first things he did was just to absolutely get rid of it. I mean, I don't know how you do that in an age of social media, other than just,
Disappearing messages.
well, you can't do that. That's just on WhatsApp though. But other than to say that nobody at Ferrari is actually allowed to look at their phones during working hours or something, but having that separation also means cutting yourself off from all of the criticism that's coming from outside, because it doesn't help you do your job. You will never be at the pinnacle of your innovation if you're worried that if the innovation doesn't work, you're going to get fired. And I think that is something that, if you're going to ask me, would Christian Horner be good? I think he would be bullish enough in his negotiations at the beginning to say, if you're hiring me, you have to let me do everything that I want to do. And that includes letting me take the blame or be the front man for problems that are going on within the team. Like you can argue Fred Vasseur has done that as well. He's just done it badly. But
Christian Horner would have the gravitas to get to my earlier point of why he would be successful. He would be able to come in and, in the NBA, we say, you put your championship rings there. Christian Horner would put 8 of these and say, look, man, this doesn't just happen overnight. Like, I've actually done this stuff, right? So let me do it my way. And again, if Ferrari are willing to do it, then sure.
Yeah,
But
but
I think
yeah,
that's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just a different thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so this is the thing. These two questions go together. Would it be good for Ferrari? Would it be good for Christian Horner if he is able to come in and bull his way into doing what he wants to do, have full control over everything Ferrari Formula One? Then yes, I think
Not,
that
yeah.
Christian Horner could make a success of it. And I think that if he was able to do that, the culture shock that he would bring might just change Ferrari completely. And
Well,
if
that's why I go back to he could be successful because that's it. You're hitting
but but
reset, Chaz. You're essentially
but it's
saying, look,
not.
the old way is done. This is how we're going to do this, and this guy has brought success over the last 2 decades in Formula One, and so we're going to follow that path.
But it's not
Essentially, your
just.
Ross Brown
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not just about. It's not just about Ferrari. I can already see a comment here. Horner failed. This is Johan Fienstra. Horner failed
Well, I
the
mean,
last 18
I'm
months
not
at
sure
Red Bull,
about
and I take that.
mm,
I take that point,
take that
but he
failure
was
too far.
under. He was completely under fire for that entire 18 months, right?
You know,
People wanted him out of that team at that point, and you could argue that yes, he is damaged goods because of that, but also the previous like decade or so of Red Bull's success, you know, it's not like he had nothing to do with it, and he had his fingers in a lot of pies. And I would argue that actually a Formula One team is about that. It's not about a committee. It's about it's about having a strong leader at the top that's able to take the flack when it comes, but also make the bold decisions and be allowed to make those bold decisions. Just look at what's happening at McLaren right now. You've got an empowered team leader who has the respect of his workforce and is therefore able to make decisions independent of his CEO.
Is he? We're about to find out that. But just to
Well,
your
from a
point,
technical
right?
point of view, he's certainly done that, hasn't he?
What Christian Horner brings, I would argue, and as we're talking through this, you're starting to convince me that this might be a good move. Christian Horner brings exactly what Ferrari would want. Yes, I take the point in their chat about he was less than successful over the last 18 months, but put it up against what Ferrari did in the last 18 months. You'd still take whatever Christian Horner gave you. And so you're right. And it's a different setup. What doesn't work for Red Bull anymore, and I would argue that they're at a more mature phase in terms of how they're competing now. So yes, you could argue that Christian Horner failed to evolve with what that looks like. I mean, also, again, I also want to clarify that he had some discretion, I guess, allegedly. I'm putting that aside for a second here, but if you just look at it from a total team operational standpoint, yes, maybe he was doing things wrong towards the end of his stint. Maybe he lost a lot of people that had been with the team, but those folks had been with the team for a long time too. So he did something right on the front end of it. So I think a rejuvenated Christian Horner, who is going to be massively motivated to beat Red Bull, could be a different guy, and he could be the guy that serves as that catalyst for Ferrari. Now, I think you brought up some very valid practical points that where is he going to get the talent from? What level of talent do Ferrari have? Is it something they can work with? Are they talented enough? Are they able to work with Christian Horner on the new? So
I
these
don't
are
think it's an
big
issue of
questions.
talent, Omar. I don't think it's an
No, no,
issue of
I'm just
talent.
saying these are
It's
questions.
an issue of
These are
process
questions I would be
always.
asked. Yeah, no, no, all of
Will he
that,
be able
all
to
of that.
create
I
a
agree.
structure that allows the talent to
Correct.
work, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I do want to make a couple of quick points as well, just about that corporate interference. What happened to Christian Horner at Red Bull is exactly what he wants to avoid
Avoid
at
at Ferrari.
Ferrari, right? Is that his leadership became uh, a, was
At the
attacked
point of
as soon as
yeah,
Dietrich Mateschitz passed away. That
yeah, it was over.
that level of separation was gone, right? That's when the Hawks started to attack, right? That's when the Vipers came out of the bushes, because while Dietrich was there, he protected the Formula One team and literally let them do what they wanted to do, and it brought massive success. And Ferrari, for all of their faults right now, when they have been successful, have allowed that separation to happen. It's happened twice properly in the semi-modern era. Like the first is in the 70s, the late 70s, with Luca de Montezemolo leading the charge alongside a talented engineer, Mauro Forgieri, and a forceful driver, Niki Lauda. When you had that combination, that little shell of people that told the old man to F off and let us do our job, they won championships. 75, almost 76, 77, 79 World Drivers' Championships won by Ferrari drivers, right? And it happened again. It happened again from 1996 onwards. And in 1996, Jean Todt turned up and he said, look, I'm not doing this job if Luca is going to sit here and tell me what to do. And he basically said, I mean, it's ironic that it was Luca de Montezemolo. He should have freaking understood that that's what he needed to do. But anyway, Jean Todt said, look, we're going to do our job. I'm going to protect my team. And it allowed Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, Michael Schumacher, that little core, to do their work. And the most interesting thing about that Ross Brawn era is that it didn't start off with success, and that is something that Ferrari would need to understand if they brought in someone like Christian Horner. It's not going to happen straight away. It's going to take a bit of time, and that's what Ferrari in the past have allowed their team to do. They've allowed them to fail. That's what Ferrari need to let their team do. They need to allow their team to fail, and not punish them with sackings and a replacement immediately. When they do that, they can have the level of domination that we saw from 2000 to 2005.
Shez, I mean, if you think about it, this would be somewhat ironic to what Christian Horner would want. The reason he would be put into Ferrari is the exact reason he wouldn't want to be at Ferrari, which is their impatience and their lack of ability to comprehend what's actually going on and find more simplistic solutions instead of doing all kinds of wacky hijinks and super complicated moves that just destroy morale whatsoever. So I don't even care about the baggage that Christian Horner brings. I think the question is all of the baggage that Ferrari has is already there. And so, yeah, I don't, and for me, I don't see why someone like him that's accomplished so much would want to go there and deal with all of this, where he would have much better options, arguably, perhaps with Williams, perhaps with, I don't know, maybe even Cadillac at some point, depending on how things work out, or even, Audi at some point. These are doors that might be open. Heck, he could even buy the Racing Bulls team and maybe start something there of his own. I mean, there are plenty of options around there. I think that Ferrari is probably the least desirable of his options in this regard, because it is not going to give him any level of ownership that he needs. It's going to give him all the level of accountability and stress that he does not need. And frankly, he can do this somewhere else under less pressure. Like, again, the spotlight is on you, unlike any other when you're at Ferrari. Whereas if you do this with the Williams or Sauber or Racing Bulls, sure, there's some criticism.
Or even your own team. I'm in agreement. This isn't, for me, this isn't a good move for Horner, because he doesn't get to be Christian Horner at Ferrari. He ends up being whatever Ferrari tell him he wants to be. And I think with his $100 million payout from Red Bull, he doesn't need it. He could go away.
Money doesn't matter, right? Exactly. At this point,
he can go.
I don't think that these guys are like.
He can go and do what he wants.
Sky broadcaster. That would be amazing. Actually, that's a great.
I don't know. I heard somewhere that he might want to go off and run MotoGP. I think that'd be a great move for Christian Horner to go and run an entire championship. But let's come to that third point, because I think we've answered a lot of that third question here already. But the question is, do they need a change? Is Fred the problem, or do we think Fred can't even get it done? What do you think?
Does Ferrari need a change? Let me surprise you by telling that they do. And guess what? Christian Horner is available. Guess who should be vacating his seat? John Elkann. Put Christian Horner in that seat, because we are wanting to deliver on, what did John say? Like, well, the fan base's expectations and blah 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 blah. I have an idea. Put Christian Horner in there. Great, you go, John.
It wouldn't
Come
work.
on, be a man of your word. Can you do that?
He's
Can you
not.
do
He's
that?
not a car
Can you
guy.
do that? He's not going to do that.
He's not going to be
He's
able
not
to.
going to do that.
He,
He's not going to do
he's not
that.
going to be able to run
Do it.
the car division, is he? I don't think so.
Do it. Because the problem is not Fred Vasseur. I am so tired. I am so tired of all these reports coming out of the Italian media where everything is, oh, Fred Vasseur's fault. Fred Vasseur. I mean, good God, Shez, we just talked about the team principal doing everything he can to create a secure bubble where none of the BS from outside gets in. And Ferrari have this unique problem where they have their own sister journalist companies. I don't know if they're journalist companies or journalistic companies. I have no idea. Someone's going to tell me otherwise, but okay,
So
maybe they are.
well, no, you're right in that John
They're
Elkann
probably
has I don't know if he's got shares, but he's got interests, stakes in some of the publications around Italy, right? So Gazzetta dello Sport, he's got a say there. Corriere della Sera, he's got a say there as well. So they become mouthpieces for him. Another reason why
be a man, John. Like,
but another reason why it's absolutely lethal to have media clippings in the garages, in the factory. Like, it cannot make your team run if you have those. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
I shouldn't
it's
be
fine.
doing that.
I mean, John Elkann should be ashamed of himself because he has the audacity of coming down and giving this stupid ass speech that says nothing, all kinds of garbage verbiage, that abstract info that means nothing. It is a word salad of stuff. I mean, God, for crying out loud, John, tell us something we didn't know. Like, honestly, he chose that day to come down and address this in a public manner as if he was serious about something. I'm glad the share price fell the next day. You know who should be canned? He should be canned for that because he is responsible for this as much as anyone. This Christian Horner BS stuff. There was a time where that could have happened, right? Before Fred got his extension, you could have done it then. If you didn't want to do it then, just shut the hell up and sit down. Move aside. We don't need you. If anything, I hope Fred got all the money he could, because if he has to be fired within 6 months of next season, he should get all the money. Like, I hope his ironclad contract is such that it allows him to get that, because it is the most ridiculous thing you can do to your team principal, who you just extended, mind you. This is not last year, 2 years ago, or anything like that. You just extended him maybe weeks ago, and now this stuff leaks out about there being interest in Christian Horner. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Leave Fred Vasseur alone. Let him do his thing. We know they're not going to be successful in 2026. All of you, Tifosi, listen to me. If you're on this channel right now, we're not going to be successful in 26. We already know that. We know that because we know that they're going with a radical car concept, which to me translates, they have no earthly idea what they're doing. They absolutely do not know what they're doing.
They also have
This is going to take.
They also have very little process in terms of how to turn that ship
there you
around.
Go.
If it hasn't worked out, they wouldn't be able to do a McLaren.
And Shez, Fred is putting the structure which resembles what McLaren is doing, which resembles to a great extent what Red Bull have done. I don't know what they look like under Macias moving forward, but it resembles what success looks like. But guys, this takes time. And John Elkann and Benedetto Vigne have shown that they have the least bit of patience and the least bit of comprehension when it comes to building a successful racing unit. You know, these guys think like they're just going to come in, they're going to say stuff, they're going to move people around here, and then all of a sudden they'll get success. I mean, look around and see how Mercedes operates. Look around and see how Red Bull has operated. Up until the death of Dietrich Mateschitz, they were operating at the height of excellence from an organizational standpoint. Sure, you can give credit all around, but they were operating in a way that makes sense. Look at what Williams are doing now. I mean, they don't have nearly the amount of money, resources, talent, capacity, all of the above, but they're putting all the right things in place.
And exactly that, Ammar. Like again, I don't want to interrupt you, but this is what Dorilton have done. Dorilton have realised that they are an investment firm. They are not a Formula One team. A Formula One team is a very specialised entity. It takes experts in their field to be able to make that run as a Formula One team. It's what Mercedes have done. The board have just let the Formula One team go. It's what Dorilton are now doing at Williams as well. They've said, we have hired an expert to run our Formula One team, which requires expertise. So James Vowles has got free reign. Somebody has asked, yes. I think Michael Delorso asked us, would James Vowles be a good shoe-in at Ferrari? I'm sure he would, but But why would he
But
give up the
why? What,
free reign that he has at Williams to become
guys?
to become a puppet at Ferrari? And that I think is where I get annoyed, right? Is
Fred is the right guy for the team. Fred is the right guy.
so
Look, we
Fred.
can be critical, but Fred is right. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, you can be critical about everyone, right? But Fred came in as a breath of fresh air after the years of Mattia Binotto. And look, I've defended Binotto in the past, but I think his relationship with Leclerc just meant that was never going to run its full course. He had to go. But having somebody in like Fred Vasseur, who has a track record of success in both junior formulae, but also at Alfa Romeo, sure, he didn't win championships, but he was able to nurture that team to do things that they wouldn't necessarily have been able to do. That's what Ferrari needs, and we know that he has that in him. But the assurances that we got that Fred would be able to do what he wanted to do only last as long as he continues to have results. And that's where it comes back to again. The top brass are only ever happy if you're winning every single race. And unfortunately, Formula One doesn't work like that. You have to have a fallow period. There will always be a period where you are not number one. And especially when you're a team like Ferrari that have been starved of success for so long. What is it? The last Constructors' Championship, the last championship of any sort that they have won was 2008. It wasn't even Kimi. Kimi was...
2007 Drivers' Championship.
Kimi didn't even come second in the championship in 2008, right? It was that long ago. 2008. They've done nothing. Their WEC team has won 3 Le Mans 24 hours back to back in that time. My mate Cameron likes to put out that stat that Brawn GP have led the World Constructors' Championship for as many years, for as many weekends as Ferrari has since 2009. But that's exactly it. They don't even exist, and they're still ahead of Ferrari. So you can't expect them to turn a...
We still here, Chaz. We still here.
You can't imagine... You can't expect somebody to turn up, snap their fingers, and immediately you're away. There has to be a period of time where things are not going their way. But as soon as something happens, they start to meddle, right? And it's not just John Elkann. It was Luca de Montezemolo before him. It was old man Ferrari before that. In fact, old man Ferrari used to say that if my employees are not fighting with each other, they're not doing their job. Right? What a terrible way to run your Formula One team. And in different ways, that mentality has never changed. The expectation always seems to be that the management have to get involved, as if they know what it takes to run a Formula One team. And John Elkann and Benedetto Vigne do not know how to run a Formula One team. So in this rumour of them trying to get Christian Horner, it's not out of any knowledge that he can do well. It's not out of any understanding of what he did at a different team that makes him good. It's just a name. It's a name that they think can turn a key and immediately make Ferrari a success again. And that is a fundamental misunderstanding, a misreading of what Formula One is. Not just now, what it's always been.
Speaking of that, that's exactly what they did with Lewis Hamilton. This is exactly what they did, because it was all about share price. It was all about staying relevant. It was all about being the Los Angeles Lakers of Formula One, which is to say, hey, this is where all superstars come, because that's what everyone wants to do, and they are keeping that alive. Now, I'm not saying that Lewis had all the wrong motivations. This is not about Lewis or anything like that. It is, these guys think about how to run organizations from a profitability standpoint, from a marketability standpoint, from getting eyeballs, from getting visibility. They do not care about championships, and I can tell you, because if you look at that press conference, if you read everything that's been said out there and the way it's done, if you are somebody who is invested in the success of your team, whether it be a racing team, a team selling iPads, whatever it is, you wouldn't do it in this public fashion. This public lashing of oh my God, I am so passionate about Ferrari and giving back to the fans, as if all of the other guys who work in the team are not. Like, what are you talking about? Like, who do you think you are? You own the monopoly on being a Ferrari fan and knowing what it means to everyone. Get the hell out of here, man. That is not how this works. And so I can tell you, they're not a single bit serious. Today it's Christian Horner. Let's say tomorrow, if Toto Wolff is available by some happenstance, that's what they'll do. They will do that. Even if Ferrari are winning,
Yeah,
Shez, they will do that
but
because
but
it's like a child.
but it's so imbalanced though, isn't it? And it is like a child because they will not take any criticism of them. The second anyone criticizes the car or Ferrari, immediately they're under the microscope, right? And yet Elkann is able to say we're losing patience with
What are you
Fred
losing
Vasseur.
patience
He's
for?
not doing a great job. Like top down, they're allowed to criticize, but from the bottom up, where they're at ground level, seeing the problems, they're not allowed to say anything. How can a team grow? How can a team improve if you're not allowed to even acknowledge that you've got a problem? Like
Yes,
this isn't about a no blame culture. This isn't about that. This is about just acknowledging where you need to improve and then finding the processes to improve. But you're not allowed to do that. The only people that are allowed to criticize are the top level guys that don't even understand what the team needs or how to run the team. They're the ones that are allowed to make points and criticize what is going on. And I find that absolutely infuriating about Ferrari.
just no sooner after rumors came about that Nick Todd, Charles Leclerc's manager, was starting to talk to other teams. They put out stuff out there saying after Singapore
Oh
qualifying,
yeah,
there was
yeah,
a
yeah.
verbal altercation between Fred and one of the engineers because Charles criticized the car. Are you kidding me with that stuff? I mean, the one thing that you can hold against Charles Leclerc for the, I don't know, seventh season that he's been with Ferrari is that he is too blindly in love with them to criticize them. I mean, we have come on here and said so many times he needs to be more vocal, he needs to be more authoritative,
Oh,
he needs to
he
say
needs
these
he
things.
needs to
And
go.
and now where are we at? He needs to go because are you kidding me with that kind of stuff? Like, why would you do to quote Fred Vasseur's quote from wherever it was earlier this year? It's like, why are you doing these things to self-implode? Like, how is that going to bring you any success? And I just think that these guys, man, John Elkann, Benedetto, Vigne, they should be asked to be at a race for at the first six races of the season. And you know what they should do, Seth? They should go around, walk up and down the pit lane, and see how other teams are operating. Just go and see how they're operating. Just go and do that. They should be an understudy for all of these other teams. They go and do an internship, if you will, and learn how some of
Can
these
you
things are
imagine?
doing basic stuff.
Can you imagine John
Like they
Elkann
have
doing
no
work
earthly
experience
idea.
at Williams? Yeah,
Or you know what?
be
Here's a
amusing.
better idea. Go and raise money. Go raise all the money you can. Make all the marketing gimmicky campaigns that you can because that's what you're great at. Go ahead and do that. They have no problem doing that, right? When Lewis Hamilton joined, oh my God, we were sold all kinds of goods. And I guarantee you, they knew within the team that this was going to be, an all or nothing kind of year. But they didn't mind selling that stuff when it came. So go do that. Don't worry about how the racing team is doing. Just stay out of the way. Just stay out of. I mean, the worst thing you can do is can Fred Vasseur right now. And in fact, if anything, you should give him a 5-year extension,
Stay the hell out of
ironclad
the
clause,
way.
just outside of
Here's the
Fred doing
cash.
something illegal
Yeah,
or
exactly.
all of
Here,
those obvious things. Like
here's the
you,
cash.
you
Carry on.
you stay here, you build something so you
Yeah,
can be successful, not just in maybe not in 26 but 28, 29, whenever the next rule set comes, because that's what you're building for.
yeah.
That's what you're building for. And by the way, Shez, if you really are committed to success, then you will stop saying the way it's been done is the way to be successful, because that is not how life works. We're in the age of working with Gen Zs. You have to think outside the box.
Well,
Man, Shez, there was a rumor out there that they might set up an office in somewhere in Britain. Go ahead and do that. If that's what it takes to get you other sets of talent, it gives you access to a more bigger talented pool of
they've done that
other talent. Do
before.
that.
They've done that before, Amar.
Do that stuff.
John
Do it
Barnard
more.
worked out at the
John
Guildford
Barnard
Technical.
did that. Yes, I mean,
Yeah, but
okay, you have to go that far.
it didn't work. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
uh,
John's telling me I can't criticize Ferrari engineers
yeah.
anymore.
Okay, let's just come back to those three questions just to summarize the whole thing. So would Christian Horner turning up at Ferrari be good for Ferrari? I think we've both agreed that potentially yes, it could be if Ferrari can get out of their own way and let him do the thing that he needs to do. Um, Would it be good for Christian Horner? We're saying no, because Ferrari wouldn't be able to get out of their own way and let him do the job that he needs to do. And finally, is it Fred Vasseur's fault? Does he actually need to be out? We're saying no. It's not. He's not the issue here. The issue is the top level management who do not understand how to run a Formula One team. Oh yes, go.
One more thing, Shez,
Yes.
because you are the resident Lewis Hamilton fan. I guarantee you, this is what's going to happen. Ferrari are going to break Lewis and you, Lewis Hamilton fans, in a way that you will forget about 80-21. So there's a bright side to all of this for you. You're going to have so much trauma that you're going to forget everything that happened before. Everything. I'm just going to tell you, because that's what's going to happen. They brought Lewis Hamilton under this fault. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. It's going to be such a, you'll be like, 80-21? Oh, I don't even remember. Look at that. So there's a bright side for some of you in there.
Right. On that cheery note.
Cheery note. There you go.
Yeah.
Who says we can't get along?
Well, you guys have been letting us know what you think. Thank you for all the comments. We've tried to incorporate as many as we can into this chat. As usual, please like, please subscribe. Please leave us a comment afterwards. We'll read all of them. We'll respond to as many as we possibly can, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Have a good weekend.